Hello and welcome to another short format guide in Star Wars: The Old Republic. Today we're going to be looking at the concealment operative or the scrapper scoundrel and showing you how to play this class really brain dead easy. This is going to be more of a beginner's guide. I don't know this class quite as well, so this is the brain dead easy way to play it and still do some pretty good numbers. So yeah, as always, thanks everybody for watching. The likes, subscribe, shares, all that kind of stuff to help grow the channel. And let's get right into showing you how to play this class in the easiest way possible. Alright, so let's talk about the gearing that we want to do. We want to go Volatile Strike for our tactical. Acid Lash is also a really good tactical to be using for sustained damage fights, whereas Volatile Strike's a bit more burst. And Explosive Cells is available when you want that bit of AoE. Tactician's set bonus is the set bonus you're going to be using on this class. Gaining tactical advantages increases your critical chance by 10% for 10 seconds, so again a damage boost. Tactical advantage gets an additional stack, and it increases your damage and healing by 5%. So again, just a lot of working with your tactical advantage to gain additional damage. The stats that I've got on here are not correct for level 75 content. I've geared this character for level 70 content. It's a very interesting set here, but generally, again, what you're going to want to do, similar to all the other guides, is your power should be somewhere around 9,200 to 10,000. You're going to be able to hit a crit that around 3,000. And then alacrity, you're aiming for about 1400 alacrity. Accuracy, 1590 or above. If you're looking to do amplifiers, Tech Wizardry is probably the best choice. Alright, when it comes to our utilities, what do we want to take? So the skillful tree, you're basically going to be stuck with nanotech suit, chem resistant inlays, and imperial weaponry. You don't really need Noxus knives to deal the extra AoE damage that often, so you really can switch it out for something for more quality of life. Otherwise, these two are the best for you to actually get any benefit out of this tree. Masterful tier, again, you don't have a ton of great options. You could reduce the amount of time on your cloaking, and I would suggest probably taking that instead of fortified Kolto, because chances are in a lot of operation content you're not going to be putting on additional Kolto probes on yourself. Med shield, a little bit of extra something, and then evasive screen. That is really nice, getting 2 seconds of evasion when you do cloaking screen. Alright, so when we look at our heroic tree, there are quite a few options you can do. What I've chosen is invasive imperatives, so that my active cooldown of evasion is reduced by getting attacked. You do have escape plan to reduce the cooldown of escape by 30 seconds, shield probe by 5 seconds, infiltrate by 60. Really not useful for ops in my opinion, more of a PvP thing. This one could situationally be useful. Hollow Traverse is faster and gives you a tactical advantage when you use it. Revitalizers, this can give you a little bit more self-healing, and it turns your stim boost into a defensive, so reducing damage taken by 20% for the duration. So if you're looking for another defensive. Augment shields, increase the amount of damage absorbed by shield probe, blow for blow. I like this one as well, but it's definitely an optional one. It's basically turns into a reflect, except that you still take the damage. Alright, let's get talking about the single target damage and how we want to set up our character for doing damage. So it's pretty easy. You are a melee class, you're going to play like a melee class. Take a look at my bars here, and along my main quick bar here, highest priority ability is backstab. Generally can only be used while behind something. You've got Hollow Traverse here. If you are taking the utility that gives you tactical advantage on Hollow Traverse, this is actually something you want to be using throughout the fight. Otherwise, it's just your gap closer. Volatile Substance, this is your hardest hitting ability. Do note that it takes 3 seconds to actually deal damage to an enemy. Veiled Strike gains you tactical advantage and is a heavy hitter as well. Know if you don't have the set bonus, you don't want to use it when you're already at 2 tactical advantage. Same thing with the set bonus, you don't want to use it when you're at 3 tactical advantage. And then Laceration is your highest priority spammable filler. It takes tactical advantage to activate, and you don't want to use it when you drop down to 60% energy, unless of course you are planning to use an adrenaline probe or know there's going to be some downtime. So Laceration, highest priority filler. Crippling Slice, this is another filler you can use. It's better filler than Rifle Shot. And then Corrosive Dart, this is a dot. You can definitely put it on when you don't have tactical advantage to use a Laceration and you're not too worried about energy. Then go ahead, throw on a Corrosive Dart. Those are basically all of your abilities that you're going to need to use in terms of offensive single target abilities. There are a few things that you want to manage. So you've got Stim Boost, which is a buff, it's an offensive cooldown. With the utility, it can be a defensive, as we looked over. And this is an important one when you're out of tactical advantage and you have the energy to keep using them, or you want to hit a high burst window, use your Stim Boost. Now, also really great, Tactical Overdrive is both a defensive and an offensive because it resets Stim Boost and it resets Shield Probe. You do have your threat drop called Countermeasures. So now let's talk about how we actually implement the single target priority system or rotation into an actual fight. We'll show you how brain dead easy it is other than a little bit of energy management, and you're going to be doing some pretty good damage pretty quick. So as always, start yourself out in stealth, and whenever possible behind the enemy for that backstab, you're going to be getting some tactical advantage right away. We're going to go volatile substance. We only have one stacked tactical advantage, so we can use our veiled strike. And pretty much at this point, I'm just clicking things from left to right on my bar as they become available, and then just keeping my eye on my energy. I'm not going to even put my dot on unless I can't do a laceration. So now I'm starting to get a bit low on energy, so we might want to use a filler other than laceration occasionally in there, just to make sure that our energy stays high. So you could be using your adrenaline probe, and then if you don't have adrenaline probe available, do make sure that you are using either crippling slice or rifle shot if at that 60%, or you're more around 70% and you've got some big hitters that are about to come off cooldown. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what we're going to do for our opener. So I'm going to go over kind of more a holistic view of how our opener works rather than telling you exactly specifically all of the steps. And just remembering that, you know, there's just a few things you need to change in the early part. Otherwise, it's just following this priority system. So right off the bat, we talked about being stealth. So that's the first thing you want to do is be stealth behind the enemy, backstab from stealth, stim boost, volatile substance, veiled strike, and then you're going to use tactical overdrive with your raid buff to reset stim boost, and then just using everything on the priority system. The other thing that you can think about as well is once you're about 30 seconds in, you can use cloaking screen to cloak out and be able to use your backstab after a cloaking screen and get the buff. There you go. That's basically your opener. You don't have to think about too much other than the timing of use a stim boost right after backstab, use your tactical overdrive and raid buff right after veiled strike, and then 30 seconds in, cloak out, and use your backstab immediately. How does AoE work on this class? Well, you do need some tactical advantage to get the best use out of your AoE, because you get Toxic Haze. It's really great. It gets placed around you. It's a very large AoE. It's a bit annoying that it gets placed around your body, but it's huge and you can do other attacks while it's going. You also have Fragmentation Grenade, which is going to be your next best AoE ability. You can spam Noxious Knives that are in a conal in front of you. Without the utility, they really do suck for damage. So that pretty much covers you for how to do your single target and how to do your AoE on this class. There really isn't too much else you need to know. Alright, so now let's take a look and talk about the defensives. Shield Probe is kind of your main defensive, very short cooldown, and it just absorbs some damage on you. You can take the option to get Stim Boost as a defensive 20% damage reduction, as well as having that bit of self-heal on it. Your biggest one, of course, is Evasion. Increase your chance to dodge melee and ranged attacks by 200% for 3 seconds. This is absolutely amazing. It's really useful when it's actually a melee or ranged attack. Now, sadly, there are some attacks that don't fall under that, which you won't be able to use it on. So you have to be aware in the different fights when it's useful and when it's not. And then on your exfiltrate, you have this other amazing thing. If we take a look at our defense here and look at my defense chance when I roll, jumps up to 249%. Everything under defense chance has been boosted. So that's pretty awesome. Your melee, your ranged, your force, and your tech all get boosted by 200%. So just internal elemental damage doesn't get mitigated by your roll. Very useful for cheesing certain mechanics, as that buff just lasts basically 2 seconds. What else does this class have for utility? Well, obviously it's a stealth class, so it has the utility of being able to go into stealth, sleep one enemy at a time, and it also has infiltrate, which is a group stealth. So anybody inside of the circle will get some stealth. It won't be as strong as your individual stealth, so it's a bit easier for enemies to see through that stealth, but it can be helpful. It does have a raid buff in terms of tactical superiority. It does have the off healing to help a little bit. Now, you two can be pretty good at playing this class, put out some pretty DPS numbers without having to actually learn anything too hard. The biggest challenge, of course, with being a melee DPS class is making sure that you're not standing in places where you're going to take a lot of unnecessary damage. So just be mindful of that, watching out for that. There are some other melee classes that do better damage than this class, have better defensives and a little bit more survivability, but it does come with that stealth utility. It does come with having a raid buff for the whole group. It can offer off heals in a pinch. It can do stealth out of combat to revive other players. One little thing about the stealth out of combat to revive other players that's very important to know is you need to take the revive and you need to put that on your bar so that when you target a player who's dead, instead of right-clicking them, you have to use the revive to do that. And there's a few other things to note. You have to make sure that there's nobody currently healing you, and that there's no AoE raid-wide damage going out. Make sure that there's going to be no change of phase in the fight, so no new enemies are going to spawn, there's going to be no changes. Alright, so I hope you like this guide, and I hope you find it useful. So as always, have a great day, and we'll see you in the next video.